Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank all of contributors in the debate on this crisis in agriculture markets, and I want to assure you that I share your concerns. And we can only take action, though, on the basis of the framework of the legislation that has been agreed by you and the Council in 2013 and which I am implementing from the 1st of January 2015. And I want to say to Mrs Nokel that I am not ploughing my own furrow in this regard. I am exhausting all of the tools that have been given to me within the law and the budget. And of course, I do not have to go into the details about the backdrop to the situation that we have in terms of the market. We have a global oversupply in our milk and pig meat products, and we have the Russian ban and Russian embargo, which has not helped and has resulted in a reduction of €5.2 billion of exports to that destination. But I have responded on a number of issues, and I just want to go through them again. I have responded on intervention ceilings by increasing the ceilings by 100% for skim milk powder and butter. I am invoking Article 222 for the first time to bring about a stabilisation of milk production and to bring about greater balance in demand and supply. And this can be funded through the existing targeted aid measures that have not yet been spent by some member states or by state aids. And I would draw your attention to the flexibility that we are giving in respect of state aids for the first time. Measures under state aid rules, which have been doubled from €7,500 to €15,000 per farmer per annum, can be used for the purpose of promotion of agricultural products or the closure of production capacity if they are notified and approved on the agriculture state aid guidelines. Holdings may be granted rescue and restructuring aid if they fulfil the conditions that are set out in the horizontal state aid guidelines. And also, member states could also be allowed to set up access to finance schemes under which aid in the form of loans or guarantees are granted in order to bridge liquidity gaps. And where farmers have undertaken to at least to freeze their production during a certain period at a level that has been attained in comparison to a reference period to be determined by the Commission, the aid could be granted in the form of direct grants. So I am saying to members that have raised this issue about how we are implementing Article 222 and creating some balance between supply and demand in the milk sector, that we are giving flexibility, the maximum flexibility, in order to implement that measure. As I have said already, Mr. Chairman, I have allocated €420 million in a targeted aid package last September, and only €162 million has been drawn down to date. So I wonder what the member states are going to do with that money, although I know that some of them are considering structural reforms as well. We have more money for new market opportunities, for new promotion measures. We have new outlets for these particular funds. We have more money for school schemes that Mr Tarabella has successfully brought through Parliament with your support, which is now €250 million per annum, which is an extra €50 million in the budget. We have €30 million being invested in humanitarian assistance, and this is from products in the European Union as well. We allow flexibility for the modification of the rural development programmes to target sectors that are under financial pressure, and of course we have the voluntary coupled support, particularly in areas of national constraint. So we are not renationalising agriculture. We are providing €56 billion from the European taxpayers every year to farmers, so I disagree with Mr Takkula, who talked about €3 billion for Turkey and nothing for farmers. €56 billion every year for farmers is a significant amount of money. In relation to trade deals, Mr Chairman, just briefly, it is essential in relation to the Mercosur negotiations on trade that we convey a consistent measure as governments. So it is important that the agriculture ministers and the trade ministers are working in tandem, and that the EU is ready to make a meaningful contribution in agriculture, but we would ask, and I would ask as Agriculture Commissioner, that Mercosur should moderate its expectations to what is manageable and acceptable to the EU, both politically and economically, particularly at these difficult times for some of our sectors. I do want to assure Mr Nicholson that the yellow card and simplification agenda is very much intact, and that we are considering proceeding to give farmers who make minor errors the benefit of the doubt in relation to the yellow card system, and simplification proposals will emerge again for implementation shortly. Could I say to Mr Häusling that I am after outlining what I am after doing on Article 222. So I am seeking measures and implementing measures that is containing production and bringing about greater balance and supply. So I don't accept what you are saying, that I am doing nothing about bringing about a balance in the marketplace. And you are advocating that we should not go to the extreme of opening new markets. Well, we are going to continue to open new markets, and that will be part of the solution of creating further opportunities and outlets for our agricultural products. In relation to structural change and funding that structural change, the targeted aid measures and the state aids that I've just outlined are applicable in relation to structural change if regions in Germany, or indeed Germany as a whole, would wish to participate. Could I say that everybody wants, Mr. Chairman, access to more money? As I said, we have already allocated some money which has not been utilised yet, so it's very difficult for me to go looking for more money when that money has not been expended. And second of all, I would be interested in the views of the Parliament in relation to the use of the crisis reserve. Should it be used, or what are the circumstances we should use it? I'd be interested in your views on that. In relation to the food chain, I note the unfair trading practices report that has been published in January, and I don't agree with the outcome of this particular and conclusions that the unfair trade practicing report has come up with. And certainly I would look forward to the proposals of members in this House to be submitted to the Agri-Market Task Force, which will report next September. And I would urge you to make your proposals sooner rather than later. And this group, I would mention as well, is looking at financial instruments and new tools where we can use to protect farmers in the context of price volatility, and these include hedge funds and also insurance products. Could I say withdrawal prices in relation to fruit and vegetables that were mentioned by Mrs Aguila and by Mrs Herranz Garcia for fruit and vegetable in Spain? This is certainly under review, and also we have to extend from the 30th of June and trying to find the money to do this, the impact of the fruit and veg sector in relation to the Russian ban. So these issues are still under review, and we will be making a decision shortly. Can I conclude by saying, Mr. Chairman, that I recognise very much the difficulties that there is across the markets, but we are continuing with a series. This is the second package of proposals that we are implementing in order to reflect the concerns that have been expressed here, and I hope that these will have an immediate impact during the course of 2016 to ameliorate the financial difficulties of our farming community. Thank you.